Now, just what is happening to Sunderland? Not playing well. The pace has gone. The fans are not happy. A defeat to Swansea, and the playoffs are looming. We've got Leo and Jack back with us this week to review some of the best and worst of social media following the Swansea game, and just what on earth does Libri do to get this momentum back in this wonderful side. Thank you very much, of course, for joining us. We're also picking our player of the season on this episode as well, so stand by for that as well. Leo, welcome back, buddy. Momentum is everything in football, and Sunderland just lacking that at the moment. What is going on?
Yeah, I mean, I think I mentioned it in the last recording session that we need it's very important to get some form going into the playoffs. You can't just rest players and drop results going into the playoffs, because then you've just set the mindset for the club and the fans going into those games. And we're seeing it happen. I mean, we're seeing the fans, as we look at, starting to lose hope in what we dreamed was a promotion push. I'm still dreaming, but hopefully we can get back to form, because at the minute, we've got 2 goals in 5 games. I think we sit like mid-table in the form table, and that's just nowhere near what we have to be if we want to make a serious challenge for promotion.
Yeah, and the teams in 5th and 6th are very usually those teams that have that momentum. Look at Bristol City at the moment, and Millwall. Potentially it could be the 6th and Coventry. It's not looking good. Jack, welcome back. I know you've been away from us for a bit, but good to see you. Good to see your face. What have you made of this season generally?
Well, as I say, it's lovely to be back on the podcast. Generally, I think it's definitely exceeded expectations at the start of the season. I don't think many expect us to be competing with the big teams with the parachute payments for so long, but we've done well to stay up there. And in the end, we've just fallen a little bit short of that top 2. But now it's the point where we can accept that we're in the playoffs, but we're not, as Leo said, we're not going in them in great form. And that's a bit of a worry, because the playoffs, as much as there can be a lottery, you definitely need that bit of form going in, that momentum, as you say, because otherwise, if you're deflated and you're coming up against teams like the likes of Coventry, Bristol City, who are flying at the minute, that's when it becomes a struggle.
Yeah. Cheers for that, both of you. Let's have a look at some social media takes from the game. Colin says, first of all, the free tip for the goal was a pathetic decision. The officials won that game, but our defending for it was so poor. Second, I'm sick of this passive, slow, aimless football. Poor by the manager. We should be going to the playoffs at full pelt, not this. And there's a few, Leo, that are saying about Regis is getting it wrong again. We're not seeing that free-flowing football. We're not seeing the tracking back from midfield. We're not seeing that penetrative football we were seeing in those early stages. Is it on the manager, or the players have just played so hard this one way all season that they're just tired?
I think you've got to look at both to blame, especially for these past few games. I think in terms of Libri, I think his team selection's been poor these past few weeks. Obviously, we had the past couple of months we've had a horrible track of injuries, especially with Mundell last week. Being out again, what seems like he could be back for playoffs, but this season we've had injuries pushed back, so that's maybe not. But in terms of the players, I mean, we've got capable players on the pitch, and it's in terms of the game plan, how well can they execute it? And at the minute, they're not doing it. I'm sure Libri doesn't want a game plan where we have 2 half chances and then concede a scrappy free kick and then don't try and push for an equaliser. That's definitely not the game plan going into it. I don't know what that is. Maybe that is something he has to change, or something in personnel he has to change. But in terms of the players, I mean, they're just not connecting well at all. It seems like everyone's got a different idea of what they want to do when we're on the ball. I thought Roberts looked bright yesterday, but as soon as he got past the fullback, any ball in the box, there was just never really any hope of anything coming from it. I think there's just a disconnect between the players and what they want to do at the minute.
I think every neutral wants Sunderland to go up. I think that's fair to say. No one wants to see Leeds, Burnley, Sheffield United, in those 3 going up. So, Sunderland are a Premier League side, Jack. We've said that many times before, but I am worried, given what I'm reading and what I'm watching. Are you genuinely concerned that from what you've seen in the last month or so that the playoffs are going to be a complete waste of time?
A waste of time, I'm not sure, because anything can happen. I do feel like at this position we are in a bit of a catch-22 because when you've secured playoffs so early, you're torn between resting players for the playoffs or gaining momentum. Because if you rest players, you're almost definitely not going to gain momentum, as we've seen. Like Harrison Jones got his first league start yesterday, which is great for him, but is he going to be a player utilised in the playoffs? Probably not. Obviously, we've got Job, who we've given a rest, which is good. But again, it's a detriment to the team now. I think everyone just wants these last 4 games over and done with. We want to see the back of them and see what the playoffs brings. But it's tough. It's a tough situation. As you say, I think, a lot of people want to see Sunderland back. We've seen the likes of Sheffield United and Burnley in the Premier League in recent seasons, and they haven't performed. No one wants to see that again. So, but it's a tough one to call. I think you've got that side who's going to miss out on the top 2, which is looking like it could be Sheffield United. It'll probably be more deflated than us. I'm more worried about the side who we face in 5th or 6th at the minute.
Okay.
I think in terms of the resting players as well and the momentum, I think it's not just the team. I think it's the players themselves as well. I think if you're resting Job through these games, like he's got no chance to build his momentum and build his performances so that he's at his peak for the playoffs. He's going to come in just as a player would who's been injured and then coming back into the fold. They're not. They might be fully fit, but they're not fit in terms of the pace of the game or the physicality of the game. I think that's something to look at as well.
Yeah.
Another person getting the blame was the board. This was Chris says player that will be out of the playoffs in the semis, no point turning up. Ryan says this is what we get for not investing in the squad in January. It's left the manager way too short. Colin says, can Luke and I stop standing still at the back and standing on the ball? It's infuriating. What do you make of Ryan's comments there, Jack, about the lack of investment in January?
I think the overall comments about the board across the board are quite unjustified. I think they've, on the whole, done a good job for us. But where I do see criticism is fair is in January we made one signing, a good signing at that, in Enzo Lafay. I mean, you could say we signed Jayden Danns as well, but he's not going to play a minute for us, so it was absolutely pointless. But I think where we did need strengthening is the fullbacks. We don't have much fullback cover at the minute. Trey Hume, I believe, is our only fit one. Obviously, we're swapping around. We've got Alan Brown playing right back. And as well, obviously, the sign of Salis Abdul Samad in the summer he basically was a January signing by the time he was fit and ready to play, and he hasn't exactly set the world alight with his performances so far. So I think they had a really, really good chance in January to bolster this squad, and whatever that may have been, whether the playoffs or the top 2, and I do feel like it could have been a little bit of a missed opportunity.
It's interesting you mentioned Sabed because he's a feature of our next social media. But a race is not a prayer, and the playoffs are going up. Continue this form in next season, we'll be fighting relegation. Ahmed says Samed is atrocious, Leo. Needlessly fouling, pushing, complaining to the referee, yet he can't make a pass over 5 yards. Heyman says absolutely diabolical to say that up to the fans. Is atrocious too strong a word?
Recently, I don't know. The past 4 or 5 times I've seen him play, which is a thing in itself, saying that because I can't remember his last 5 performances. I can't remember the last 5 games he featured in, because whenever he comes on, it's just it's like we got 10 players on the pitch. Not in the sense that he doesn't do anything. It's just the fact that, like, I feel like if you take him out of the team, our build-up's the exact same, our creation's the exact same, and then you might say he's more defensively minded, but I think we defend the exact same when he's on or off the pitch. If it's Dan Neil in that holder midfielder, I don't see any difference or level above in terms of the defensive ability of Samed at all, which is why I was kind of confused why he seems to bring him on to kind of hold a game out in the past months, especially when we saw us conceding those late goals. It was actually when he was coming on the pitch, and we were trying to solid things up defensively. But yeah, as Jack said, the January signings, I mean, the fullback cover, I'm glad that we lost. I'm glad that Leo Hilda came on the pitch and we lost the game, because fans have been using the stat that we haven't lost this season when he's played. That's because he's played the last 5 minutes of games where we're 1-0 up. I really don't think he should ever be in a squad anywhere near the playoffs in the Championship. He's just not a capable player at all at this level. And us as fans, we've all seen it since he first came in. But yeah, the reason he is playing is because of the lack of cover we've got. And when we experience 1 or 2 injuries in key positions, then you're looking at academy players, or you're looking at these, panic signings or panic loans, as we had with Jayden Danns, which seemed as a decent signing, but he's not going to play a single minute.
Cheers for both of you. There's 4 games left. I want to ask you both what you want to see out of it. The next one is probably the most interesting of the 4, given that it could be a little preview of the semi-final as you travel to Ashton Gate this Good Friday. Then back at the SOL for Blackburn, Oxford, and Sunderland, and really by the point, QPR. Sorry, Blackburn have got nothing to play for. QPR have nothing to play for. Oxford may be safe by then. So, is there a chance Jack just gone a little bit of a mini run with those fixtures? There's nothing difficult or tricky there, is there? The Bristol one we'll talk about in a second.
I think we need to. None of them games are particularly a standout. Obviously, Bristol City will be looking to win that, as you mentioned. We'll talk about that in a minute. But I'd just like to see us put a run together. I think it's going to be really dampening for the supporters. The mood yesterday around the ground was really, really poor. And the whole atmosphere felt quite toxic. Even when the likes of Tommy Watson went off, I know people have got their opinions on him and his move. He got booed and jeered off by part of the crowd. So we just need to see a little bit of form put together so we can have a better atmosphere, and that home leg in the playoffs hopefully can carry us through. But I worry about it. I mean, you look at last year, I think Southampton, who won the playoffs, went into the playoffs and lost 3 games in a row and then won on the final day. So it can change. I feel like the playoffs is definitely all about moments, but momentum would definitely help, especially with the whole atmosphere of the club.
Okay. And then, Leo, so the team that currently obviously occupy 5th of Bristol City, they've run a decent run, and their fixtures, apart from perhaps Leeds, aren't too bad. So it's probably likely at the moment that this is going to be a little preview of the semi-final. Does that matter at all this Friday? Is there any mind games involved in it? Is it just still protect the best players? Don't go strong this Friday?
I think we will see a strong squad, but that doesn't say anything about how the game's going to go. I think it's going to be a huge chess match between both teams. Obviously, we're nailed on unless Bristol City somehow get plus 12 goal difference in their last 4 games. We're nailed on for 4th position. It's between them, Cov, and as you say, the likes of Millwall and stuff to fight for those last 2 spots. If, to be honest, I wouldn't mind giving them 3 points for the fact that we wouldn't play Coventry in the semi-final, because I do not want to play them at all. Obviously, you don't want to lose to them. Like, you would never want to lose a game, especially against someone that you're going to possibly be playing in 2-3 weeks' time. But I think it's going to be a huge chess match, and it's going to be a huge tell of possibly how that semi-final is going to go. I think both managers are going to get a really good sense of how the teams are going to approach the game. I'm pretty sure if you finish 4th, that means you have the home leg, the second leg.
Yeah, that's right.
And so I feel like that's going to have an interesting part to play as well, because if it is Bristol City in 5th, that means it's going to be the exact same fixture again. I think all that has a part to play. Obviously, hoping we get a result, but I can definitely see it just being a very cagey affair. Both teams just trying not to give one team the upper hand for that game in a few weeks' time, potentially.
Okay. Right. Cheers for that, both of you. You already mentioned Watson. Was a question I already wanted to put to you both, Jack. Strange signing. Was what's been labelled this one. Given how little we've seen him. And what do you think? What do you make of the price? What did you make of the timing of the announcement?
I mean, I'm buzzing, if I'm being honest with you. I think good riddance to him. Look, he's been decent, but he's really only played a handful of games for us. I think I could count on one hand the amount of games I remember him playing for us as well. So to get 10 million for a player who's unproven, out of contract in about 14 months. I think that's a great deal for all clubs as well, because there's no doubt that he's a good player, and he's going to go to a club like Brighton, who are good at nurturing young players. So I think it's a good deal for everyone involved. We've got a good fee, and I mean, I hope a lot of people are saying that his mind's at Brighton because he had not a great performance yesterday, shall we say. But if he just gives his all from now until the end of the season, then I think that's all anyone wants.
Okay. Leo?
Yeah, I think in terms of him, he's probably thinking that he wants to give it his all for the end of this season, because if you go back to a season ago, there was nowhere near 10 million bids being put in for him. The club and Libri have given this chance to put his name on the stage, get his name out there, and make that big Premier League move to a club that are known for developing young players really, really well and selling them on for big profit. I think he has a lot to thank for the club and for the manager. And I saw yesterday, like he did miss a big chance in the first half, and he's hitting the ground in frustration. And you can see he's frustrated when he's not putting chances away. It's not like he's just forgot that he's a Sunderland player for the rest of this season. But yeah, as Jack says, I think the price tag is a great price tag for someone who is unproven, especially at the level that Brighton are going to be playing at next season. In terms of the timing, I don't agree with it. I think even if they had accepted a bid and the transfer hadn't went through, I think the announcement is a bit bad with the timing, just because fans straight away just went to, so he's not going to play anymore. But then when they saw that he was coming into the fold, then they start asking questions about the manager, about the board, about does he want to play? So I think the timing of it is bad, but in terms of the price tag and in terms of him giving his all for the rest of this season, I don't have any trouble with that.
Right. Cheers for that, both of you. Finally, then this week, we're asking you for your player of the season. We know the club are starting to do the rounds on this one. So, Jack, from that early game back in August, right the way through all the cup games to where we are now, what player should get it for you?
This is Sunderland only, yeah?
Absolutely.
Yeah, right. My player of the season would... between two, I'm going to not sit on the fence. I'm going to go with Job. I think he had a development season last year where he was really strong. But obviously he couldn't really find his right position, in and out of the team a little bit, and had a few mixed performances. But I think this season he's come back a different beast. He looks a lot stronger, a lot more confident on the ball, gives it away a lot less. And I think he's really held his own as one of the first names on the team sheet this season, which is an incredible achievement at his age, really. And he'll go on to have a fantastic career. We'll give an honourable mention to Chris Metten, apart from the last couple of weeks, to be fair. But for the most part, that's been a really, really solid sign, and he's been great at the back.
Okay. Cheers, Jack. Leo?
Yeah, the two names mentioned, Job and Metham, they were two names that come to my mind. But just to mention someone else, I think Trey Hume deserves a mention. I think we've seen with this rotation that Libri likes to do, he likes to try new players. He likes to try, the midfield, he likes to try a different three every few games, just change it up. But I think Trey Hume's one of the first names on the team sheet. And there's a reason for it, because he is such a level above what else we have in that position and what else other teams have in that position in the league. I think he's been a standout this season.
Good job. Right. Thank you very much. Before we go, we're doing a little bit different this. We're also going to ask you to award another team's player this season as well. You can pick any player from any team that you've seen at the Stadium of Light or away from home that has torn Sunderland apart. Who has impressed you the most that you'd love to have in your side? Leo, you go first on this one.
Well, in terms of the full season's performance, hasn't really been reflected. But I remember when we played Plymouth earlier in the season and we got beat, Sissoko, their winger, when he was on loan there that first half of the season, he tore us an absolute new one. And then one winger I remember tearing us one as well was Jaden Anthony at Turf Moor. Although that result ended in a draw, that first half he was absolutely electric and we couldn't get anywhere near him. In terms of like standout performances, in terms of goals and grabbing a result, not really one comes to mind, but in terms of watching the game and thinking we can't get near this guy with those two players.
Jack?
I'm going to go slightly different end of the table to Plymouth. But I remember when I was at Leeds away, obviously a memorable game from this season. We held on for so long, but it just always felt like Leeds were going to score. And I feel like a lot of that was coming through Dan James. He was giving Dennis Turkin a horrible, horrible night that night. A brilliant play. You know, he's done it in the Premier League as well now, so it was no surprise to see he's done it in this league. So that's where I'd go, Leeds. That team at Elland Road was just absolutely fantastic, as well as Autanaka in the middle, who's got a lot of praise this season. Just controlled the game brilliantly, recycled everything for Leeds. And in the end, I suppose the goals didn't come from them too, but I feel like they played a big part in Leeds getting over the line in that game.
Cheers, both of you. Let us know in the comments who you would give Sunderland's player of the season to and who you think has torn you up most. Thank you, you guys. Enjoy the game against Bristol City as you're heading down on Good Friday. Should be a good one. There's for neutrals to watch as well. We'll be watching out for you. And thank you very much for joining us. We've only got 3 more of these left. So if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, you know what to do. Press the subscribe button at the bottom and do his a like as well. Have a good week, everyone.